Alright guys, welcome back to Racing Direct. Now today, we need to jump back into the Andrea Kimi Antonelli topic. Now I'm sure about 99% of you have probably heard this name already and are pretty familiar with him. If you're not though, he is basically what many people are labeling as potentially the next Verstappen or the next Hamilton coming up through the ranks, currently competing in F2 as a 17-year-old. He skipped F3 after just dominating the Formula Renault Regional Series. It's pretty well known that he will be in Formula 1 very, very soon. However, he's popped up in the news recently because it sounds like it could be even much sooner than we initially anticipated. Now, as of this moment, Andrea Kimi Antonelli currently has more than the minimum 40 required super license points to compete in Formula 1. However, there is the certain Max Verstappen rule that now states that he must be 18 years old before he can be granted permission to race in Formula 1, and Andrea right now is only 17 years old. However, over the Miami Grand Prix weekend, there was some news that came out that there was a request sent in to give Antonelli an exception, which would only mean that would he have to come into Formula 1 at some point this season before he turns 18 years old. That doesn't happen until later this summer. This was leading some people to believe that there could be a mid-season swap happening somewhere on the grid. Now, the most likely candidate for the mid-season swap, unfortunately for Logan Sargent, that would be him at Williams. We all know it just hasn't really been working out for the young American driver. They gave him another chance this season, however, things haven't really stepped up at all. There hasn't really been too many major improvements, so people were speculating that maybe Mercedes wants to give this guy a jump, get him a special exception, and get him customized to Formula 1 much sooner than anticipated for a full season campaign next year with Williams. Now, of course, this special request for the super license to be granted to Antonelli really could have come from anywhere, so many people were just assuming that it came from the top brass at Mercedes because, after all, Antonelli is their junior driver, and they want him to be in the big team at some point in the future. However, Toto Wolff did come forward and pretty much shut down those rumors that he submitted it on Mercedes' behalf. Toto Wolff really wants Antonelli to develop his talents more in Formula 2. It sounds like he wants him to see out the remainder of this season. He's currently 9th in the standings, so he's not really lighting up the series, but you can definitely see the growth is coming, and he would seriously benefit from just completing this season of Formula 2 before jumping in with the big dogs in Formula 1. So while Toto Wolff did shut down the rumors, well, we still know that the application was submitted for the super license exception, so not many people are just assuming that it was actually Williams who submitted the request for Antonelli, which would mean that they are very keen on doing this driver swap at some point in the season. Now, because it was submitted so early in the season and they don't even really seem to want to wait the next few months to wait for him to turn 18 years old, some people are speculating that he could even jump in as soon as Imola. Now, of course, with that race weekend coming up very quickly, only a few days away, and teams are already preparing to head over to Italy and get ready for the Grand Prix, it's highly unlikely we're actually going to see that driver swap happen this soon, and honestly it doesn't really sound like Mercedes want this exception to go through either. So it does sound like Logan Sargent is safe for the very near future. I'm assuming he's going to turn up at Imola. Again, things can turn pretty quickly in Formula 1, but I would just assume that this swap is not happening as early as this next race weekend. However, it does sound like there is some work behind the scenes to maybe get it pushed through. Now, obviously, the development of Kimi Antonelli is very important for the Mercedes' future. Obviously, we all know that Lewis Hamilton is Ferrari-bound next season. Now, Antonelli is not going to jump into the senior team right away, so of course the most likely option would be for him to start at Williams. Now, most people of course assume this would not be coming until 2025, but the decision they make on their drivers this season is still incredibly important for them. Along with Sauber, these are the only two teams are yet to score a point in the Formula 1 championship. Williams is really fighting for that prize money and to get further up the standings, and if they think they can seek some help from outside of Formula 1 to bolster their driver lineup, then they're going to do everything in their power to get that done. Now, of course, this is a really tricky decision. Personally, I would leave Antonelli down in Formula 2 for the rest of this season. I would like to see him develop his abilities more. As mentioned, we all know this guy is a huge super talent who is bound for Formula 1 very soon, but spending more time in those development categories is only going to help him in the future, especially considering that he's already skipped the Formula 3 championship. I definitely feel he'd benefit from just staying in Formula 2 for the rest of the season and waiting to join Formula 1 until 2025. Clearly, Toto Wolff sees things the exact same way, but if James Vowles is really keen on getting this guy into their car this season and as soon as possible, to be honest, if the rumors are true, then maybe he will do some convincing with Toto Wolff to tell him, we need this guy in here right away. Now, it should also be noted that Antonelli has done some testing for Mercedes already. Earlier this year, he jumped into, I believe it was a 2021 spec chassis and was doing a lot of testing laps for Mercedes. We believe he's doing some work behind the scenes for them as well, probably on the simulator, just helping him get accustomed to how much different a Formula 1 car is compared to anything else he's driven so far in his very young career. So it seems like Toto has already planned out this guy's future for the next few years at least, because let's face it, we all know he's going to end up in the Mercedes senior team at some point in his career, and it looks like Toto is just taking the step by step and wants to make it slow and steady and make sure they do not rush Antonelli. However, if this exception for the super license does get approved, he'll be the first 17-year-old to compete on the Formula 1 grid since, guess who? Max Verstappen. Of course, that 18 years old rule really came into effect after Verstappen joined Toro Rosso back in 2015. The FI decided that that was too young for someone to enter Formula 1, and they adjusted it to 18 years old minimum. Doesn't even matter if you have the minimum required super license points, you have to be 18 years old. So if this actually goes through for the exception and Toto Wolff sort of changes his stance and decides that William can swap him for Logan Sargent very early in this season, well, that will be a groundbreaking move for sure. Well, let me know what you guys think. Do you believe that a mid-season driver swap is coming very soon for Williams? Could we see the end of Logan Sargent and the beginning of the Andrea Kimi Antonelli era? Give me those comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts. And again, just let me know what you think is best for Antonelli's development. Do you think he'd be better off just jumping straight into Formula 1 at some point this season? Or is he better off just finishing off the F2 campaign? Guys, again, make sure you hit subscribe, like, and share the videos. It really, really helps. Also, just a side note for the channel, there is a bit of a different audio setup coming soon, and I will be appearing on camera as well, so a little bit excited for that, and you guys can finally put a face to the name, so getting that all set up, so that will come very, very shortly. But as always, appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening and watching, and see you next time on Racing Direct.